We're going to start off with an update to the airlines. I'm going to say because there's been a lot of stories. They've been in the headlines a ton recently.
So much.
So you guys remember the United incident, right? Dr. Dow being pulled off of the plane. He was forced off of that plane. It caused a huge ruckus online and just really around the world. And then you started seeing other airlines get into the spotlight for things that they were doing, overbooking being a major issue. So today, United CEO Oscar Munoz went in front of U.S. House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. He basically apologized. This happened probably about 45 minutes to an hour ago. He apologized once again to the people, and you see video of him right there in front of that committee, saying that he's sorry that they're making major changes to the airlines, or his airline, United specifically, including not overbooking anymore. American Airlines, Southwest, and Alaska were also in attendance. So what's interesting is even though Oscar Munoz apologized and said that they're making changes to their policies, American Airlines says we're not. This overbooking is what we do. It's what we need to do to continue to operate. Southwest says that they are no longer overbooking. We heard that last week. They also said they're going to offer, what is it, up to $10,000?
Up to $10,000.
Up to. And you remember, because that was the day Rob Carlmark was here, and he was saying, okay, but what's the minimum?
Right.
What's the minimum? Is it $5?
Right.
Who's going to get the $10,000?
Especially if they're going to work really hard to not let things happen anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to be a common practice.
But it's a good way for them to get back in the headlines and say, oh, thank goodness
we're doing something about it.
And then Alaska says that they're going to consider not overbooking. The bottom line is President Trump is saying he's going to leave this up to Congress, and Congress is coming down and saying, you know what, you guys, as in all the airlines, you better do something about loosening up your rules and regulations, because if you don't, we're going to put a mandate into play and may take this, you know, into a legislative act. So we'll see what happens there. But we want to know what you guys think. Are you guys, do you feel safe in flying right now? Do you feel as though that you may be overbooked and part of those people who have to get pulled off the plane if you have somewhere to get? Rob brought up a good point, saying people in this time of year, at any time of the year, you book a flight because you got to get somewhere. You have a meeting to get to, babies coming into the world, a graduation, there's something.
Yeah, and I don't think we have a lot of options if you're considering flying versus driving, and you live, you know, if you're only 6 hours away from where you live and you can make that work, then sure, but obviously that's not the case for many travelers. And I did want to throw this in. So my husband and I have a United card, and we're part of the United Airlines loyalty program, and so we actually got an email. I'm sure thousands of other people out there did as well. And the title of the email was from the United CEO, Oscar Munoz, and he says, actions speak louder than words. This email is so long. Like, it's just
goes on and on.
It literally goes on and on and on, and it is really just a huge apology, just saying this was not handled appropriately with what happened with Dr. David Dow, apologizing to all of the people who have taken, you know, pride in being a member of United and flying on that airline. Loyalty. But they are in such apology mode still. Like, will this ever go away?
Well, and let me ask this question as far as devil's advocate, because they send an email out and it's like 4 pages long, like Jenna said. People have been fed up with airlines again. Before Dr. Dow got dragged off the plane, people have been over
before social media.
Before social media, people have been having traveling issues since before. So after this email, and considering the fact that it's so long, is it safe to say that they're just completely out of touch with reality and what people really want and really expect from them? Because first of all, who's reading a 4-page email?
Right.
Bullet points, give me the high levels, just say what you're going to do and change it.
Don't bury the lead.
Don't bury the lead. Don't give me this whole Aaliyah 4-page letter thing to try to get your point across. But again, that can tie into, again, so this whole time we've been flying, y'all never knew that people had a problem with this?
Well,
y'all never knew.
Well, they're going to take advantage of their opportunity to get the most. I think, like any business, right? You're looking out for yourself until you come under fire.
They're doing damage control.
Damage control now, which isn't too late. That's the question. But the thing is, like you said, people have to fly still. It's not an option for a lot of people.
And the other big part of this story I know we were talking about also in the last week and a half, if you hadn't heard this headline, that Dr. David Dow did get paid off.
There's a settlement.
There's a settlement. Never went to court. Smartest play on United, by the way, to not let this go to a jury, to not let peers of David Dow decide how much money he deserved. So in that, though, because they settled privately, There's no court documents. There's no public information about how much they settled for. I'm so curious to know how many millions they paid. And, and you know, I think it affected his reputation, and it started a much bigger conversation, which I think it was worth millions, actually. You know,
when you think about what happened, it's on camera now. The embarrassment of it. He had his jaw broken supposedly, and then you had the media outlets digging into his background, so it's going to affect his employment going forward. So this whole situation, that probably wouldn't have happened if he wouldn't have got dragged off the plane. So. He had David Dow was deep pockets entertainment out here in regards to this settlement.
Like, well, let's remember
he's caked up.
He is caked up, and United CEO Oscar Munoz, who we were talking about, who went in front of the committee this morning and is apologizing now. That wasn't the case originally, right?
Right.
I mean, you remember that he came out and was defending his people.
He said this person was being belligerent and defended his flight crew.
And then we saw video of Dr. Dow before, and that's something that I held out judgment before I saw that video. And then you see him just on the phone. Supposedly he had some sort of concussion, which is why he came back on the plane, kind of all like, what's going on? So not a good look, but Munoz is again re-apologizing. But let's get people into this conversation, because I know that Jennifer Bornstein, sorry if I butchered that, she says, no, I don't feel safe, and to take my kids, I'm okay. I would rather find a different way to find a way out of town.
And then Lisa says, I used to fly often, but not anymore. I avoid it at all costs. Rosie says TSA should smile at the airlines. It's super stressful flying to deal with sour faces. This feels like for all staff.
Feels like they're all on power trips. They never acted like this before all of the changes years ago.
Joel says he won't be flying United. So when you say hashtag boycott United, Joel, let's keep the conversation going. If there is a flight for $100 cheaper on United, the next time you go to book something, will you really not book it? Are you that moved enough by this story to say, I am not going to go for the cheaper flight in United anymore, and I'm done with the airline? Because I'm curious to see if there will be enough people out there who will do that. Personally, I'm going to look for the cheapest flight. You know, and now that I know that they can't overbook, I'm not as concerned about it happening. Am I happy with the situation, how it unfolded? Of course not. But you don't want to spend an arm and a leg to get somewhere.
And I think the question, though, considering the fact that they're saying they're not going to overbook, who's to say that they're not going to overbook? Because you just
say that now.
You just telling me you're not going to overbook. That doesn't mean that you're not going to overbook, because just recently, this past week, people have been sitting at the airport saying they've been asked to give up their seats again, not for flight crew, but just because flights are overbooked on whichever airline. So
think about it.
It's already, people are still seeing the status quo.
But think about it. If you're somebody who works at an airline and you're there checking people in, and you see a bunch of people filling up on this plane, and then you see that it's overbooked, and then it gets out that it's overbooked, that airline, if they've already said they're not going to do it,
if they say they're not going to do it, they can't do it, because one day that everyone shows up, the whole point of overbooking is because they, according to statistics, they say that people don't show up for their flight. So say 2, 3, 4, 5 people don't show up, they're always left with empty seats. So years ago they started overbooking, because it turns out that a lot of times they're actually in good condition because they overbook and they compensate for the people who weren't there. But on the days like Dr. Dow's day, when last minute crew members, United crew members need to get somewhere, they have to bump other people off the plane because crew members needed to get somewhere, and we understand that crew members need to get somewhere because it's a triple effect, if they don't, or trickle effect rather, if they don't get to their flight, that affects an entire flight, then that flight is backed up, and then that backs up another flight. So I understand that they need to get crew members somewhere, but you can't be dragging people off an airplane.
And it'd be interesting to keep our eyes on it around major traveling days, like around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Then we can really see, because again, before all of this, airlines were notorious for overbooking during Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter weekend.
It's money. They need people to buy the tickets.
So let's keep our eyes on it and see if this is actually in place, or if it kind of just slips under the crack.
And I want to wrap this up with going back to Joel, because we asked him out loud, and he answered. So thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel.
Joel says, I will not book on United. I'm flying to New York in July. United is available, but major companies won't change unless we affect their pocketbooks. United will continue to overbook and say we want to hear, but it keeps updating, sorry. When the mighty dollar is impacted, then change will come. So he says no, he will not fly United.
Until he sees some real changes. Okay.